This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Hello, I'm Graham Treacle, co-founder of One Donation, and we work with companies that want to improve their employee engagement or corporate social responsibility. We do this by connecting employee engagement and corporate social responsibility with payroll deduction donations. And we solve three problems when we do this. The first problem that we solve is that the traditional workplace giving model is broken. The second problem is that the employee disengagement costs about $500 billion a year, so it's a big problem. And third is that corporate social responsibility, it has a big play right now on the bottom line as folks are able to research these companies. Our go-to market strategy is we've identified employee engagement specialists and corporate social responsibility specialists who are doing work with a lot of companies right now, as well as we've identified key traits with companies that allow us to kind of pinpoint where we want to take our efforts. Our key competitors right now are companies like Benevity, UBAC, and United Way. And it's important to note that not one of them has more than 2% of the overall market share, so it's still a very fragmented market, and it's ripe to be disrupted. And our special sauce is in how we do things, right? So the first thing that we do differently is we are an open marketplace, and that gives us access to 1.5 million nonprofits, and studies show just by doing this, there's a 65% increase in employee adoption. The second thing is that all of our transactions are recorded on a blockchain, all of our financial transactions are. And third is that we're able to tie the donation process to corporate or social responsibility in the bottom line. So instead of being a cost center, it now becomes a profit center for the business. To build such an amazing platform, we first started with a really good team from our technology side that helped build a healthcare exchange, to a corporate rollout specialist who did corporate rollouts at Fortune 500 companies. And my ask here is that if anyone has a company that's looking to improve employee engagement or corporate social responsibility, see me afterwards. Thank you.
Nice job again. We've got good presenters today that are quite articulate. And the questions, so who's going to pay for your product? Does this come out of HR? Does it come out of the corporate social responsibility side?
Okay.
Where is the money going to come from? Or are you just taking a cut of the donations? What's your business model?
There's two pricing models, and I obviously didn't. So it's 50 cents per transaction, and the company can allot to pay for it and just cut it out of their budget, and it's easier that way because it's an employee benefit. Or we can do it per employee per month, which is when we get a little more involved in the process. We have a program called Done For You campaign. So if you imagine a hurricane goes through somewhere and they want to roll out, we have a program that's done for you so that they're not having to write the literature to go out. And that's where we charge a little bit more per employee per month.
And how far along are you? Do you have a MVP, or is it still just an idea?
No, we have a working product now. It's online, so I can show you a demo right now.
And you didn't tell me about that?
No, sir.
Wow.
Okay.
Traction
Right.
is everything to an investor.
Right.
And that's something that I would have, even though you got 2 minutes and you have to cut something else out. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard. Traction is everything. Do you have a customer?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Do you have a paying customer?
Yes, we do.
Goodness. He's got paying customers.
Bad first date. It's over.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's clearly what happened. So the time, like traction, is pretty much that and the ask were the last thing. So it clearly got left out, the traction. So
Yeah, you might want to experiment with like flipping that order on its head in your mind, right? Maybe try starting out your 2-minute pitch with, "Hey, I'm looking for X, and hey, we're already doing Y.
Okay.
Let me tell you, I don't know, just A/B test it. It might have an interesting result." I found it to be a little bit buzzword heavy for me. corporate responsibility and
blockchain
and engagement. And that might all be true, but I would just be a little bit wary of it having that unintended effect. It is a space where I've probably been seeing companies that are building some type of app or platform to help with giving through their company for 3 or 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like the fact, though I'm not sure it is the place in a 2-minute pitch, I do like the fact that you acknowledge there are people out there, so kudos to you for that. But and you said your special sauces and how you're doing things, and I'm guessing that is in your case like where the blockchain comes in, right?
Correct.
Okay, explain to me why that matters, why anyone cares who you're selling it to.
Well, it provides complete transparency, right? So especially when we go to scale, one of the competitive disadvantages we have to a United Way is longevity. So if a company is allowing us to receive large checks that are coming from their employees that we have to disperse according to the terms of a contract, it gives them that comfort factor that, okay, not only we can track it, it's verifiable that the money's going exactly where we say it's going. And then also from an employee engagement perspective, and we're trying to figure out how we price this in, you do have some old scandals of old, right? But still the net tells everything, where there may be even an engagement perspective where an employee can log in themselves and get that hit within their brain. Engagement is a psychological perspective too, where they now know they're not being misled because they can check themselves on the blockchain, if that makes sense, because it is anyway.
Why? So is engagement, would you say, of the companies that you're interacting with now from a sales perspective, is engagement the number one kind of problem, or I don't even want to say problem, but opportunity they're trying to address by adopting your platform? Or
I would say, firstly, I think we have a limited exposure, right? So like we're still getting into the marketplace, but I can answer it with that kind of.
It's a limited data set.
Right. So in my limited data set, I think they're addressing problems that they have in the old methodology. So, for instance, the paperwork of matching donations. So typically, there's someone in HR or payroll that's getting, here's the receipt where I gave a check, and they have to verify it. And our system allows them to automatically to get rid of that paperwork hassle with those programs. That's been the biggest one that we've seen so far, is that the old way is not really efficient, and they don't, especially with growth companies, they want to focus on growing rather than matching donations, but it's still an important part of their culture.
And what do you think, based on your limited data set thus far, your kind of sweet spot ideal customer looks like?
I think it's going to be somewhere the small to mid-sized companies right now. Someone that they have an engagement officer. We found that
be more specific. Small to mid-sized.
So 150 to 2,000, 150 employees to 2,000 or 3,000 employees, where they have a large enough company where they pay attention to retention of employees because it's a big cost. And so from economies of scale for implementing something like this to retain 1 or 2 employees because of a good giving program or good corporate social responsibility program, it pays for itself. When you get to the larger side there, we believe they have a lot of these specialists already in place. They may want to use us as an add-on to additional services that they have, but a lot of times they'll have foundations they're already corporately sponsoring, so it'll have to come alongside. So we think our sweet spot, I've typically thought crawl, walk, run. So my sweet spot right now is going from the smaller mom and pops up to the next level.
And so are you replacing something at those companies, or you're sort of they're new early adopters, so you're not having to knock out an existing product?
Well, I think a little bit of both, right? So like with the company that had over 500 employees, they were managing it themselves. So we were knocking out an existing process internally where they had a program already in place. On another one, they had been using United Way. They had gotten rid of it a few years prior, and they just wanted to do something different. So I don't think, again, by the way that we work, a lot of the other programs, it's a closed circuit, if you will. So they say we can give to these 10 nonprofits. And just by having an open database, the Gallup polls say it's like 76% increase in employee adoption. It's a big increase because then you can give to your church, your mosque, your synagogue, whoever you want to give to, now you can give to, and there's no limitation in it. And our technology allows it to be a third-party transaction from the company, so they can match to make their employees happy without having any knowledge of where, and just be agnostic.
I think John's suggestion of thinking about flipping the order of your presentation. I think one of the things, when you've only got 2 minutes, you can't say a lot. And I think one of the things, if you can sort of immediately establish credibility in some way, that sort of makes everybody sit up and listen the rest of the way.
Okay.
And that establishment of credibility, if you've got a paying customer, wow, that's it might be traction. It might be, I'm a PhD in this technology and I'm the world's expert in this technology, or it might be your expertise or team. But right at the beginning, establishing, why you're the right person or team to do this. And one of those things is traction.
Fair enough. And I just comment on the traction side, and I take that to heart, because I think we've started down the road when you talk about where's our market. With the ADP interaction. So they have this big place called their marketplace, and they want us to have 10 use cases before so we have a plan now with them to get into the marketplace. And so one of our first clients was an ADP client, so we're using their system. So anyway, it is a big traction point, because then it's a lot of small markets, right? It's not the enterprise folks that are using PeopleSoft and have 50,000 employees.
Right. So
that's bad.
Is getting on the ADP marketplace difficult, or can anybody do that?
No, I mean it's difficult, right? So they want a case study, and that's why for us they want 10 folks where we can say this is our track record, because for them it's just like anyone else, it's dollars and cents, right? If they're going to put us into newsletters and expose us to their marketplace, they're going to want to make some money from it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, time for a question from the audience. Anybody got a question?
Oh, this is a good curse.
What's your revenue to date?
Oh, very small. So we generate less than $100 a month right now, because it's 50 cents a transaction, so it's scalable. So for us, we rolled out with this we started out as a B2C play, business to consumer, and we just switched to a B2B play. So our traction has really started within the last 6 months of generating revenue this way.
So how many transactions have you done? Because that's definitely a better metric for your
I'd say like last year we did close to 500 transactions, but again, some of those transactions are counted as a B2C play. So we're still doing transactions because the infrastructure was set up to take donations that way. So doing this way, we're at like seven donations using this particular company, and then we tried another methodology of giving as you know, in the startup space, for helping companies as a sales tool use donations. So for instance, in this particular one we used was an insurance agent that set up a way when he goes into companies, he gives a certain amount to their nonprofit that they choose as a way to get into companies. And so we prototyped him a product. It's actually working really well for him. So we're still under $100 a month, because no matter what, it's the transaction. It's the 50 cents a transaction for us.
And that'll do it. Thanks, Graham, with one donation.